Hello and welcome to the latest cross-button VR snap, where in this episode we're going to talk to you all about Into the Radius and its PSVR2 port. But before we get into that, please do take a minute to like, subscribe and leave us a little comment, give us a little review, whatever you like to do, just support the channel, that would be lovely, particularly if you're new here. But without further ado, I think we move over to the main man on this one. Reese, tell us all about Into the Radius.
Yes, I'm going to start off and just say I've loved every minute of this. This is a game that I have played on Quest, raved about there, played on PC, raved about it there. I mean, anyone that listens to the main podcast has heard me rave about this game a good few times. So, yeah, it's Into the Radius. It's the PSVR2 port. Let's go over some of the features that you're going to get from the PSVR2 port straight away out the bat. First of all, it does have foveated rendering. It's you do have headset haptics, although I haven't felt the headset haptics, but I feel like I'm immune to them at this point. Controller haptics, they work brilliantly. The adaptive triggers, which is probably still one of my most favourite things to have in a shooter game, to the point where I play on other platforms and I don't have the adaptive triggers. I get a bit upset. I miss those.
Yeah.
So really happy they have them, because when I was playing it earlier, I was shooting the gun and I was out of ammo, and literally, because it was still pulling the trigger, it was still doing the adaptiveness of the trigger. So it doesn't just do it when you're shooting the gun. It literally does it every time you use the gun, even if there's no bullets in it whatsoever, which, adds that realism, that immersion. And I think that's one thing that Into the Radius and the creators of Into the Radius Sim games have always done, is made a very immersive experience. To even reloading your weapon, the way you have to reload them, you get boxes of ammunition, then you have to reload your magazines with the boxes of ammunition, slide that in the gun, cock it back, and just, whatever gun you're using, each one has realistic reloading. So yeah, first of all, like I said, looks great on the PSVR2.
It does.
And the main platform I've played this on before, even though I've played it on the PC, I've played a lot more of it on the Quest, but now I've played a lot more of it on the PSVR2 than the Quest. And I don't think I'm going to go back to either of the other platforms after playing it on the PSVR2. And I think that right there is probably the highest comment I can give the game as a port. It feels exactly the same, but just works even better. So yeah, really happy with the port they've done themselves. I'll go over a little bit about the game itself. It does have a story, and it's a very drawn-out, long-winded story, some of which is given to you through a lot of missable dialogue and things like that. So I would recommend, if you're interested in the story, once you finish the game, maybe hop online and search for just a video that goes over the whole entire lore of Into the Radius, the story that it has and everything involved, because there is some really in-depth videos out there, and the story to this game is pretty rich. The whole happening of the Pachurisk event, it's pretty in-depth and it is quite interesting. So I'd definitely say, if you're liking the game and you finish it, give that a listen, because there is a lot of stuff you can miss. There's pads you can find, people you can bump into and break, and literally they'll give you audio when you break them. And what I mean by that is there's people around that are frozen, and when you bump into them, they break into shards, which one of my favourite things is to kind of push the shards around when they break, which is really cool. And that works everything. Even when you're using your gun, if you go to an area where something's floating, you can just push it all around with your weapon. Everything is solid. There's collision based for everything. It's really cool. And I mean, I can't rave about this game enough. Like, no, it's one of them things, isn't it? I've done it so many times. God, I'll let you talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's justified. I mean, hands up, this is not an Alex game in no way, shape or form is this an Alex game, but I can appreciate everything that's good about it. So as you said, like, the foveated rendering really produces like a really crisp presentation of the game, and it also has a dynamic mode, a performance mode and fidelity mode. So basically the difference between a 60 and 90 frame per second mode. So you've got 60 frames with a higher fidelity, or you get 90 frames with slightly lower, but both look great. I think it's up to you what you prefer, but usually with a VR game you're going to go in performance mode to get those 90 frames rather than the 60. All the features that you've mentioned are great. I think the one I would call out is 3D audio. I think the audio in the game and the atmosphere that it creates is incredible. You're in there right from the very beginning, even from the tutorial, because it's not like your typical tutorial. I think your tutorial is telling you something, and it's giving you a bit of a story, and it's teaching you. But it's not in no way, shape, or form is it an arcade game. This is pure sim. This is load one bullet at a time into a gun and take it from there, which is I don't have the patience for.
I mean, you don't have to
personally.
load one bullet at a time if you've got the box. If you've got the box, you can just put the
Yeah.
box over the magazine, and that makes it a little bit quicker. But as
I
Ali
don't
said,
want to do that at all to begin with, but that's just personal preference.
I tell you what, like when you're in the middle of a battle and you're getting shot at, and you realise on your belt have no more magazines with bullets in it, and you're holding your bag and you're grabbing these bullets out and reloading each magazine just to try and get full ammunition again. It's very scary. It's not a good moment for you at all. But yeah, like you said, the tutorials, they do kind of tell a little bit of a story, and it's one of them things where you have to pay attention to them, because if you miss anything during that tutorial, you're going to go out in the world and you go, what am I supposed to do with that thing? And there's so many things in this game that you can miss if you're not paying attention. And now, obviously, in VR, you pay majority of your attention will be paid, but obviously you can also get distracted and go, oh, look, there's a butterfly over there. Not that there is on this game, but yeah, it's easy to get distracted, just like it is in real life in VR. So yeah, that's one of the things I would say. Make sure you pay attention to these tutorials. They are life and death when you're in the radius, as you were. But yeah, there's various areas to go to on the map that lead further out. And when you go further out, you'll get hit with different enemies, some that have shields. You know, it does get really difficult. And I mean, I was playing it earlier, and I went out into, I think it's the third zone, or was it the second zone, and then back into the corner, something like that. It was further out than the first area it puts you in, and I got slayed. I was hunting around for bullets, and this, like you said with the 3D audio, I was actually picking up bullets, and I could hear something, and I kept turning around, going, okay, there's nothing there. So I kept doing that, turning around, and yeah, the audio, it's flawless. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because usually a lot of the time I do kind of skip over audio, but no, very well done.
Yeah.
It's just a very polished game. It's very well done.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think it's a very, very good port. We've been very critical of some ports in the past where they've felt like lazy ports, and this one absolutely is not lazy at all. They put love and care into this, and it's clear from the second that you switch it on that they have. And I think it absolutely gets their stamp of approval, Reese, doesn't it?
100%. This is, yeah. I mean, it's always been a me game, and it's always been a game I've said to them, wait till this comes to PSVR2. And I'm so happy it doesn't disappoint in any way, shape, or form. There's some few little things here and there you may notice when you play further on. You may get some minor little jank, but it's also due to placement of your hands and where you move your hands and things like that, such as grabbing cupboards. You may not open them properly. You know, there's minor jank, but not enough to say that this isn't a great game. I mean, do we rarely ever say a game's a perfect game, because VR is never really, it's one of the things where things can always go wrong with the player. Not that I'm blaming you guys, but it's one of the things. I've made mistakes in the game. I've dropped all my bullets out of the gun, and I'm like, this isn't working. It's like, oh no, I've just pressed the wrong button. So yeah, seal of approval, stamp of approval. What are we calling it? Is it stamp? Okay, stamp of approval.
Stamp of approval.
Yep, that one. And last but not least, make sure when you're out in the radius, turn your safety off of your gun, because otherwise you will die. Yep.
Perfect note to leave it on there, Reese. Thank you very much if you joined us. Those were our first impressions of Into the Radius. If you do go into the Radius, let us know. Jump into our Discord, leave a comment. But we do hope you enjoy. Until next time, it's goodbye.